Hey there, this is Alex Campbell. Thanks for joining me again. I'm going to be showing you today how I roast on my 1 pound fluid bed roaster. I built this roaster several years ago and I use it quite regularly for roasting coffee. The roaster is a complete custom build based around a glass bake-around chamber, and it roasts using a plastic welding heating element. When I roast coffee, I generally can roast plus or minus a pound, so roughly 500 grams of coffee, and that seems to be about where it's happy. You'll see throughout this roast that it agitates the beans quite nicely. It has very nice progression. You can see into the roasting chamber quite easily, so it's easy to watch that. Probably the downsides I'd say to this roaster is that because the fan is relatively noisy, it's really difficult to hear first and second crack. So I find I often end up sort of cracking the top of the chamber where I dump the beans in and then listen through there, because otherwise it's really tricky to hear first and second crack. All right, so I'm all set up to roast here. I actually am cheating a little bit. I've got my roaster set up in my laser cutter only because it's got a massive 6-inch exhaust fan that vents to the outside of my house. The coffee I'm roasting this evening is going to be a Sidamo, and I'm roasting it to about a full city plus, so I'll probably be looking to drop the beans when the temperature hits around 450 degrees Fahrenheit. When I originally designed the roaster, I had a metal funnel, but it just didn't work. It was too restrictive and it necked down to 1.5 inches, and it just restricted the bean flow. So I found this to work good. Once again, this roaster is something, I don't use it every single day. It's not something I make money with. I just use it as a hobby. So it's one of those things that, if I was to do another one, I'd probably improve on it, but this one works good enough, so I just roll with it. Yeah, so on Roast Logger here, I have it set up. As you can see, I have auto heater turned off. I'm just going with auto set point, because what that'll do is it'll actually give me sort of a target to hit. The temperature is up at the top of the screen here, and as I progress through my roast, I'll just basically be playing back and forth with the heater slider and the fan slider to try and be hitting my target temperature. Alright, so what you're going to see here is I'm just turning up the fan until we get good agitation of the beans, and I'm just looking for them to be circulating nicely. And up here at the top of the screen you can see the temperature on the left as well as the rate of rise as the right hand number there. And as the beans get a little bit lighter here, I decrease the fan speed to make sure they're still circulating nicely but staying in the chamber. One nice feature of Roast Logger is that you have fairly granular control over the sliders, so I can just use the keyboard and increase and decrease the heater and the fan speed. And then here you can just hear the tone of the fan decrease as I decrease the speed even further as we're getting nicely into this yellowing phase. As you can see, we're just coming up over 300 degrees now. As I mentioned earlier, it can be kind of hard to hear first crack, so I just slid the top open here. Of course, this is open on the top, so some chaff's coming out. Now I let this roast get away from me a little bit, so as you can see, I'm hitting second crack a little bit early, so just right around that 10-minute mark. So I've shut the heat completely off, and then I'll let the beans circulate in the chamber for a little bit to cool down initially. One thing I've been completely satisfied with in this roaster is the bean dump mechanism, because you don't have to remove the roast chamber. I generally try and take most of my roasts right into second crack. I'm not a light roast coffee. I'm definitely a more medium to dark roast coffee person. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'm going to be posting some more content in the near future about roasting. I'm going to go over how I roast in my modified potpourri, and then how to modify a potpourri to take control of it for roasting, and a couple different methods as far as roasting coffee in a little bit more simple way.